Happy New National Stress Awareness Day, or as you Brits call it, Wednesday with tea.
Do we?
I think you do.
Well, I certainly fucking don't, because I don't drink tea. So I ain't going to know whether that's true or not. I would say I'd take your word for it, but I know you're full of shit, so I don't know if it's wise.
Yeah, I'm actually wrong on this anyway, so just let's get it going.
There we
go. Let's get it going.
There we go. Hello, welcome to Two Sides of the Pond, the podcast where, as you can see, Dwayne makes up a whole load of shite. I quite often ignore it, dispute it, make him realize he's just chatting shit, and we move on.
Yeah.
Say hello, Dwayne.
Hello. So I did mention in the opening that was, National Stress Awareness Day. But upon further research, it's the first Wednesday of November. I don't know where people come up with all of this stuff. However, but I will say the month of April, which we are coming out of, is National Stress Awareness Month. Why wouldn't it be in November? So because the whole month is April.
We have a dedicated day in November. So you can't have National Stress Awareness Day at the same time you have month. That's conflicting holidays. That's not right.
No, so it's the end of April, and stress awareness is very important to people. You have to learn how to cope with it. There are the 5 A's of stress, which is very interesting. Like getting the stress management specifically. I believe it's avoiding, altering, adapting, accepting, and being active. So I know you are active with your stress awareness, like getting through your stress.
Okay.
It's like pulling teeth with you right now. What's happening? Are you okay?
What am I supposed to say to that? It's like, okay, I'm active. Cool. Is that it? Is that all I do to manage stress? I'm active?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know.
Because you go for your walks.
I go for
which
my walks.
Which kind of clears your head.
It does. Unless you're
you have a lot
me.
You have a lot of stress. You have the ability to have a lot of stress in your life. But
what does that even mean?
Well, you have different aspects. You have multiple jobs, multiple people you take care of. You have deadlines, more so than a lot of people I know. You work from home, which means you work 24/7 sometimes. Like the ability of working for you is almost all the time. There'll be times we're talking and it's like 1 a.m. your time. And I hear you just tapping away on the keyboard, doing your coding and working on financials the other night. And
yeah, I was working on financials. Yes. Working on investments.
Right. So there you have the opportunity for a lot more stress and needing to separate that a bit. Even when you go on holiday, you're working most of the time. Yes,
it's not really much of a holiday.
Right.
But I do like 20 of them a year, so,
Uh-huh.
I get a little bit of time to chill, I suppose.
So other than walking, what do you do to manage your stress?
Not a lot, really. I've always, I think, dealt with stress quite well. It takes a lot to overwhelm me, I think. Mm-hmm. Whether that's a good thing or not, I have no idea. It might be a terrible thing, but it generally takes quite a bit to get the better of me. Are you enjoying food there?
Well, here's the deal.
Stress eating.
Especially talking to you, I stress eat.
Fucking hell. Jesus Christ.
No, go ahead.
But yeah, so I say it quite a lot. I think I am built for the stuff that I do. The fact that I take on as much as I do, with running multiple companies, with so many projects on the go at once, where a lot of the time the advice is, well, you focus on one thing and you see it through to completion. That doesn't happen in my life because it's not possible. I'm never gonna. You're struggling with that food.
That
Fucking
is
hell.
a bad idea. That was a really bad idea. Go on.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's,
God.
Jesus Christ.
Ah.
But yeah, so I the stuff that I'm doing, it's not possible to do one project at a time. It ain't gonna work, right?
Yeah.
There's just not enough time in the day to just do one thing at a time. You'd be just doing it for the next 1,000 years otherwise. So you got to crack on and do multiple things. So yeah, but I've never really been impacted by that. I handle deadlines and stuff quite well. I'm quite dynamic and can pivot quite quickly to things. And I'm a very fast thinker as well. I'm very solution driven. If there are issues or something's gone wrong, I'm very, very quick to find a way to solve that problem.
And humble. Don't forget humble.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? But I think because of that, that's why I tend to cope quite well with the stress. Because in my view, stress isn't always bad. You have bad stress, but you also have good stress. There are things that you need in life that are stressful. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just part of life.
It's a driving force. You can arrange it to be a striving force in your life.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So some people do stress eat. Some people exercise their stress out, which are two very conflicting things that are happening with that. Now, I've always been a believer that mental stress, if you keep that mental stress going, it will eventually break down into your physical health. And I kind of wonder if that's where I am in my life, where things start falling apart because of all of the mental stress that I've had all throughout my life, that it's gotten to a point where, now my stomach's fucked up, or, now I'm getting migraines, or X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, so I think it's important that a lot of people realize that what stress people are under, if it's bad stress, how to turn that into a positive to be more productive like you do, or are you just going to bed rot, which was a trend in the very beginning of 2025, was bed rotting. I don't know if you've seen it or heard it. It was all over social media. It might even still be out at this point, where people glorify bed rotting, where they will video themselves in their bed, and they'd be surrounded by takeout containers and dirty clothes everywhere. And they're like, "Oh, this is day 4 of bed rotting." I'm like, no, that's called mental illness. Why are you making
it's called being a lazy fuck is what it is. Fucking get on and do something with your life.
They don't shower. They just scroll on social media and just lay there. One user said something like, and every 12 hours I make sure I turn over so I don't get bed sores. Are you Charlie in the Chocolate Factory? Are you the fucking 4 grandparents that are just sitting in bed for your whole life? That is horrible.
Imagine. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Have you ever taken a full mental health day?
Well, I've been ill, I guess.
Well, that doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, I've had lazy days. Every now and then I do. I have a day where I spend quite a lot of it in bed, not doing a lot. But it's not often. It really isn't. But even if I am in bed not doing a lot, I still have a laptop. It's
and
right
what are you
beside
doing?
the bed.
Are you coding?
Probably.
Yeah.
Doing something. Yeah. I can't remember a day where I spent the whole day doing nothing whatsoever.
Right. And when mental health turns into, like, mental stress comes out in a physical form, we'll just call out what's going on, where people break out, and and it's very apparent that you might be going through some kind of stress right now. Yes. And it's a thing.
Yeah, that's what mine generally does. It usually is. It appears physically. Because I wouldn't say I normally feel stress. I feel pressure when deadlines are looming and there's lots going on. I feel pressure, but I wouldn't say I feel stress. So mine seems to handle things in different ways.
How do you separate the two? Like, how do you listen to what's going on with yourself and have that internal conversation. What does it sound like when you go from, oh, well, pressure is not stress, where there will be people out there that will disagree with you completely. Pressure is stress. It's how you handle it.
Yeah, maybe for me, because like with running a business, there's so much going on. There's so many things that need to be done and things need to be done by a certain point, especially when you're trying to deal with the financial side of it, where you have bills to pay, where you've got to increase the revenue and hit certain targets and whatnot as you're trying to grow each year, you know, and having those goals for everyone to work towards, that is a pressure point. For me personally, I wouldn't quite say that is stressful. That's just the goal that you're trying to achieve and where you're heading towards. And also the closer you get towards that goal, the more intense it can feel because it's very, very near. Whereas with stress, for me, I would say it's more stuff outside of my control. Things that I can't control, things that just popped up randomly and there's nothing that I can do about it to try and solve the situation. You know, those are the things that perhaps cause me more worry because I don't have a handle of it. You know, things that I have control over, you know, even if it's something that happens randomly, but I can still control the situation and massage it, I wouldn't say for me that is stressful. That's me doing what I do best and controlling the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel as though there are people see things in different ways, obviously, but there's been a lot that I've read about where nobody can make you feel bad. Nobody can make you feel stressed out about anything. Things that are out of your control. You just let them do their thing. Nobody can, like, what is your take on the idea of the mindset that this person, you know, says something to you, and I think I know the answer from you, but somebody says to you, you know, something and it makes you feel bad. Nobody has the power to actually make you feel bad. So I believe you're in agreement with this.
I am, yeah. So like in terms of like offending people, there's no such thing in my view of giving offense. You know, being offended is something very, very personal. You know, you choose to be offended at something. People could say whatever they like, but whether you take that on board and let it impact you, or whether you brush it off and go, who gives a fuck what other people say, that's your choice. Right. And some people can really push the limit of that and really test where your boundary is of whether you brush it off or whether you don't. And there are certain things with me that can get under my skin. But if that happens, it's only because I've let my emotions get the better of me. I haven't held myself in check and I've got bothered by something. And yeah, that person could be an absolute asshole for doing that. But I'm still partially to blame for not, you know, just going, whatever. Because usually I do, right? As we know, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I just don't care. It's very, very hard to bother me because I do not care.
But I have a question for you, though. Seriously. Do you care?
No. I don't care. I just don't care.
I am so envious of people like you that could literally just brush things off because I take everything to heart.
I've noticed
that. The only thing that I think I've finally gotten over are mean comments. Like mean comments on social media. I've been in small social media war, you know, fights with people, with other influencers throughout my years on social media and YouTube, my own channel. So where people would really say some nasty stuff to you. So that stuff I've gotten over. I've learned how to let that go in a sense where all comments, good or bad, are engagement and it works to our advantage anyway. But if you know me face to face, you can crush me. You know, like you could say something to me that is totally, I know deep down in my soul that isn't true, but because someone else thinks that of me or may think that of me, would crush me.
This is an interesting thing, because how easy do you think it would be for me to say something that would crush you? If I wanted to intentionally hurt you, how easy do you think it would be, knowing what I know about you?
Because you know so much about me. You know more about me than 99% of the people that I, am friends with. You could destroy me. I know you can. Like, that's a horrible smile of yours. Oh my God.
What about the other way around though? How easy or difficult do you think it would be for you to crush me?
I don't think it would be that easy. I'm sure I know that there are buttons that I could say or push that would get you to just ghost me to a degree, and just because I don't think you would be spiteful and vindictive to your actual real friends. I don't think you're that person, but you will ghost a person. Just like, you know what? Don't need this in my life.
There would be consequences to stuff. Yes. Yeah.
So you're saying you would?
I wouldn't do anything bad, but there have been people in the past that have been absolute shits, and there've been consequences to that. And the consequences are they're not in my life. That's the consequence. You know what I mean? So I had one person, I probably told you this, one person in particular who I was doing some traveling with and whatnot. He was a very avid traveler, loved traveling, and wanted to do things with me. And that's great, because the more people that I know that enjoy the same things that I do, makes it easier to find someone to do those things with, right? Because most people can't afford to do all the stuff that I do. So if I can find groups of people, then it spreads it around, right? So I did a little trip with this. Well, I did 2 trips with this person. And one of them, they knew that I would be working remotely. I didn't have much to do. I had a few meetings to attend, and then we can do whatever, right? And I put a lot of focus and attention into them because they're quite delicate. They needed quite a lot of attention and focus to make sure they were happy. That sort of person, and that's fine. And they kept on saying that they're loving it, right? They're having a really good time. It's so great just to sort of switch off from reality and relax and stuff like that. And it's worth pointing out as well that their job is very, very different to mine. Mine, as you know, when you run a business, you can't switch off from that. You've always got to give it some sort of focus and attention. Whereas their job was very much they go to work, they do their hours, and they go home, and they leave.
They
all
clock
that
out,
them.
and it's done.
Yeah,
right.
And that's it. So they don't quite understand what I do. Anyway, they kept on telling me they were loving it. They were really happy, and I thought, great, okay, this is really, really cool. They're enjoying it. Anyway, we then ended up booking another trip to do the following year. Because again, they said they enjoyed it. I then randomly get a message from them saying that they hated it. I was working too much. I wasn't giving them enough attention. And I was like, well, that's just a piss take, because the amount of effort, it was all about what they wanted, minus the few meetings I had to attend because of work. It was all about what they wanted to do. Right. It was very exhausting for me from an emotional level, because the focus was on them. So I found that really irritating. And they didn't want to do the second trip. And it's like, well, why did you keep telling me how happy you are and how much you're enjoying it? Why not be honest? And why book a second trip then? If you hate it that much, why arrange to do it again? What the fuck are you playing at? Mm-hmm. But then they turned around and said, there's more to life than work and whatnot. You're going to die alone if you keep doing this. And I was like, all right, hang on. Again, I'm not going to die alone. I am not alone in any way, shape, or form. I have people surrounding me enjoying the same sort of things as me. So that's not the case. It's bollocks. Yes, I work a lot, but that's because I don't do a 9 to 5. I have multiple companies, right? It requires quite a lot of work. It is what it is. But because of just how shit they were, and how much to handle they were anyway, it made me realize, well, this person's not worth it. You know, it's one thing being a lot to handle and me put a lot of energy and focus into helping that person, but to then have it all thrown back in my face, you know, and then told that I'm going to die alone, it's like, well, bye-bye then. And that was that.
And I would think that was a great relief off your shoulders. Like,
it was. Because I was on the phone to this person every single day. Now, before you make fucking any sort of comparisons, do not make any comparisons. It is completely different. But I was on the phone to this person every single day. I remember I was I was in Florida, actually. This is when I was in Florida a few years ago. And they were getting pissed drunk every night. They were still at home getting pissed drunk and then calling me up. They were arguing with somebody else and having a massive tiff with one of their other close friends or whatever. I don't know. And so they're calling me up. But for them, it was like 3, 4 in the morning. Obviously, for me being in Florida, it was like 11 p.m., midnight, whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's every single night, you know, and it's all about them, what, you know, their problems and their troubles and blah, blah, blah. And I was there to listen, to support. You know, so again, when they then throw shit in my face, and I know that they use the excuse of like, oh well, I struggle, I have autism and mental issues and stuff. It's like, I'm sorry, but I'm not. You can't use that as an excuse. You can't use that as a cop out, right? It doesn't matter what you have. Being a decent human being is easy, right? Being an asshole requires effort. It is always intentional. You cannot use any sort of, you know, mental illness or any sort of other, you know, social struggles you have to excuse you for saying shit like that, right? If you know that getting drunk causes you to lash out at people, don't fucking drink. Simple, right? They always did this. They always would have such a massive fucking shit show of a situation and then apologize massively the following day. And I think for a lot of people in their life, that worked. For me, it ain't going to work. Because I'm not an idiot, because I know it will repeat and I can't be fucked. I cannot be fucked, because again, I don't care. I can't be fucked to go through stuff just to have a load of harassment thrown my way and then expect for it to all be okay. No, I've got other shit going on in my life. I have other people that want my attention that are, you know, more deserving of that attention. Why should I?
Yeah.
So
totally understand that.
So that's what I mean by, you know, there are consequences. You're gonna take the piss, then you know, you won't have another opportunity to do so.
I love the fact that you already knew where my wheels were spinning and where it was going. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yes.
Wow, this sounds really familiar. What's going on here? What?
Yeah, I'm talking about you. No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. No, very different situation. Very different sort of person.
There are also the people that thrive on stress in a negative way. Yeah. I know a couple of people I've grown up with that would basically self-induced crisis after self-induced crisis is really what it is with them. And it's so easy for some people, myself included at the time, to get wrapped up in all of that. Where you're getting the phone calls in the middle of the night. I need you to come over. This is what's going on. Doesn't make sense at the time hearing the story, but you go there because you want to be a good friend. And when you're there, you're like, this still doesn't make sense. And I'm here in the middle of it. What's happening? Why are you doing this stuff? You know, to cause your own drama. You know, and that's stressful. Whether you're causing your own stress, but now you're dragging other people into it as well. Yeah. Yeah, it's just crazy. But there are people that can't handle stress and need that additional level of professional help. Yeah. You know, that's a real thing, whether you wanted to admit it or not. I know for someone as strong as you are mentally, definitely not physically, but...
I'll pin you down just you fucking wait.
Yeah, that's not happening. So I know, you know, it would be hard for you to even conceive the fact that there are people out there that things happen to them and they are like a puddle on the floor in their own piss because they can't handle it. And then the second thing becomes a third problem it just snowballs into this big thing where they are bed rotting for real. And they're not making TikToks about it, talking about how horrible, or glamorizing being depressed. This is mental depression. Like, this is a real thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it does exist, and it does impact people. And those people do need to have help and support to get through it. Absolutely. I do feel I'm very fortunate to have the mental resilience that I do. It hasn't always been easy. I've had my fair share of challenges. I've come out the other end stronger each time. There have been situations where I have struggled. Things haven't been as easy. It has been a lot harder to brush things off. I've been through my fair share of shit to get to this point. I haven't always been this way. This has been through growth and personal development. I wasn't born like this.
Right.
But yeah. But I am glad that I am like this now because, I'm able to do the things that I want to do.
And you're young enough to still be able to, which is great.
What are you talking about?
Wait, nowhere near as old as I am.
Not that far off, to be honest. Let's be honest.
Oh, let's be honest. I could be your father.
No.
Do the math.
Well, you could, but that would be a real young age. What are you, 47?
I'm white trash. Yes. I knew people at 13 years old becoming dads.
Yeah, I was going to say it would be very, very young.
Yes, I'm 47. Yeah.
And I'm 33. So.
And I started that part of my life at 13. I think 13. Yeah. So very well could have happened for me at 13.
Mm.
So yeah.
There you go. There you go.
But I do implore people who, have a moment of clarity and realize that they're not okay to seek the help. There are so many things, both on your side and on my side here in the US, where there are free services available to help for that stuff. And there is no shame in saying, hey, I need help. And it doesn't have to be embarrassing because you're telling your family or your friends about it. You can go to an actual professional and not tell anybody about it and really just work on yourself.
Have you seen that video of someone calling up the gambling helpline and asking them, do I red or black? That's not a sort of helpline. It's like, why not? I need help. It says call if you need help with gambling. That's what I need.
Yeah, I mean, here in the United States, we have something called EAP in a lot of our jobs. So I don't know exactly what it stands for, but you get 6 free sessions with the therapist.
Yeah, that's nice.
Like the first 6 you get are free every year. And you can talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
Just because you just need that.
That's something that I want to normalize. And I've spoken to you about this. I want to normalize that. It's one of the things that I want to do inside my organization is have a therapist that works on location. Mm-hmm. And everyone is mandatory for everyone to attend, but it's entirely up to you whether you talk about anything or nothing. You're not forced to say a word, but I want to normalize everyone going to a therapist because then no one's, standing out as being odd or unusual. Everyone goes, and you use it as much as you want, because it should be freely available. Everyone goes through stuff.
I love that idea, especially if you normalize it in the sense that it's not someone overhearing someone went to the therapist. It's more of a, when is your appointment? Yeah. Whether whether you talk or not, nobody needs to know. Yeah. It's like mandatory Monday meetings.
Yeah, exactly. You remove the taboo of being like, oh, why is someone going to the therapist? Because if everyone goes, no one's going to be like, oh, why is someone going to the therapist? Everyone goes.
All right, that just tickles me. I'm so sorry. Could you say that word again?
What, taboo?
Yes.
Why does that tickle you?
I don't know. That's something that a little girl would call her like teddy bear. So here, taboo. It would be taboo.
Yeah.
Taboo.
Taboo. Well,
I
sorry
don't
for
know,
not
the way you said
pronouncing
it just sounded. No. It just tickles me. See, these conversations help with my mental health.
Well, there you go. Well, I was going to say, you also have a book as well on your shelf saying The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. That's on show.
Yes, it's still there. It's still there. Yeah.
There you go.
The self-help industry is worth billions of dollars.
Maybe I should write a book on how to not give a fuck as well, because I probably have a fun take on that from my experience and just
absolutely.
make a fortune. How to be like me. Fucking shit on everyone.
Wake up, shit in your pants.
Multiple times a day.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. That's it. How to not be stressed. Shit. Sharp.
Yes.
Shit.
Have that release.
Gravy down the legs.
You need the release. That's how your release comes.
Get yourself a commode if it's too messy. And your life will be perfectly fine.
And on that messy note, we have to say goodbye. As much as I hate to. Thank you very much for watching, listening. More craziness comes in on the after show at Patreon. So all the links are down below. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are listening, make sure you watch on YouTube, because you got to see what this crazy shit this Brit does on camera. And they just get the sound effects. I wonder how many people are actually sitting there thinking that you're pressing like a little noisemaker.
Maybe behind the scenes. You have to watch the Patreon behind the scenes debrief to find out the truth of what's actually going on. Do I have a broken gas pipe in my ass, or is it some sort of sound effect?
Only one way to find out. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Say goodbye, Matthew.
Smells it here, man. Goodbye.
See you guys.